1, Jeremiah, the 25th chapter, and the first verse. Don't follow the God fads of the day. This is a message given to Jeremiah for all the people of Judah. It came in the fourth year of Jehoiakim, son of Josiah, king of Judah. It was the first year of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon. Jeremiah the prophet delivered the message to all the people of Judah and the citizens of Jerusalem. From the 13th year of Josiah, son of Ammon, king of Judah, right up to the present day, 23 years it's been. God's word has come to me, and from early each morning to late every night, I've passed it on to you. You haven't listened to a word of it. Not only that, but God also sent a steady stream of prophets to you who were just as persistent as me, and you never listened. They told you, turn back right now, each one of you, from your evil way of life and bad behavior, and live in the land God gave you and your ancestors, the land he intended to give you forever. Don't follow the God fads of the day, taking up and worshiping these no gods. Don't make me angry with your God businesses, making and selling gods, a dangerous business. You refuse to listen to any of this. Now I'm really angry. These God-making businesses of yours are your doom. The verdict of the God of the angel armies on all this, because you've refused to listen to what I've said, I'm stepping in. I'm sending for the armies out of the north, headed by Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, my servant, in this. And I'm setting them on this land and the people, even the surrounding countries. I'm devoting the whole works to total destruction, a horror to top all the horrors in history. And I'll banish every sound of joy, singing, laughter, marriage festivities, genial workmen, candlelit suppers. The whole landscape will be one vast wasteland. These countries will be in subjection to the king of Babylon for 70 years. Once the 70 years is up, I'll punish the king of Babylon and the whole nation of Babylon for their sin. Then they'll be wasteland. Everything that I said I'd do to that country, I'll do. Everything that's written in this book, everything Jeremiah preached against all the godless nations. Many nations and great kings will make slaves of the Babylonians, paying them back for everything they've done to others. They won't get by with anything. This is God's decree. God puts the human race on trial. This is a message that God, the God of Israel, gave me. Take this cup filled with wine of my wrath that I'm handing to you. Make all the nations where I send you drink it down. They'll drink it and get drunk, staggering in delirium because of the killing that I'm going to unleash among them. I took the cup from God's hand and made them drink it in all the nations to which he sent me. Jerusalem and the towns of Judah, along with their kings and leaders, turning them into a vast wasteland, a horror to look at, a cuss word, which in fact they are now. Pharaoh, king of Egypt, with his attendants and leaders, plus all his people in the melting pot of foreigners collected there. All the kings of Uz, all the kings of the Philistines from Ashkelon, Gaza, Ekron, and what's left of Ashdod, Edom, Moab, and the Ammonites, all the kings of Tyre, Sidon, and the coastlands across the sea, Dedan, Tema, Buz, and the nomads on the fringe of the desert, all the kings of Arabia and the various Bedouin sheiks, and chieftains wandering about in the desert, all the kings of Zimri, Elam, and the Medes, all the kings from north countries near and far, one by one, all the kingdoms on planet Earth, and the king Shishak, that is Babylon, will be the last to drink. Tell them, these are orders from the God of angel armies, the God of Israel. Drink and get drunk and vomit. Fall on your faces and don't get up again. You're slated for a massacre. If any of them refuse to take the cup from you and drink it, say to them, God of the angel armies has ordered you to drink. So drink. Prepare for the worst. I'm starting off the catastrophe in the city that I claim as my own. So don't think you're going to get out of it. No, you're not getting out of anything. It's the sword and nothing but the sword against everyone, everywhere. God of angel armies decree. Preach it all, Jeremiah. Preach the entire message to them. Say, God roars like a lion from high heaven. Thunder rolls out from his holy dwelling. Ear-splitting bellows against his people, shouting hurrahs like workers in harvest. The noise reverberates all over the earth. Everyone everywhere hears it. God makes his case against the godless nations. He's about to put the human race on trial for the wicked. The verdict is clear cut. Death by the sword, God's decree. A message from the God of angel armies. Prepare for the worst. Doomsday. Disaster is spreading from nation to nation. A huge storm is about to rage all across planet Earth. Late end to end, those killed in God's judgment that day will stretch from one end of the earth to the other. No tears will be shed, no burials conducted. The bodies will be left where they fall, like so much horse dung fertilized in the fields. Wail, shepherds, cry out for help. Grovel in the dirt, you masters of flocks. Time's up. You're slated for the slaughterhouse, like a choice ram with its throat cut. There's no way out of the rulers, no way escape for those shepherds. Hear that. Rulers crying for help, shepherds of the flock wailing. God is about to ravage their fine pastures. The peaceful sheepfolds will be silent with death, silenced by God's deadly anger. God will come out in the open like a lion leaping from its cover, and the country will be torn to pieces, ripped and ravaged by his anger. Jeremiah 26. Change the way you're living. At the beginning of the reign of Jehoiakim, son of Josiah, in other words, I see why these folk couldn't stand Jeremiah. My goodness, Jeremiah, all these negative messages, but that's what he received. Okay, Jeremiah, at the beginning of the reign of Jehoiakim, son of Josiah, king of Judah, this message came from God to Jeremiah. God's message: stand in the court of God's temple and preach to the people who come from all over Judah to worship in God's temple. Say everything I tell you to say to them. Don't hold anything back. Just maybe they'll listen and turn back from their bad lives. Then I'll reconsider the disaster I'm planning to bring on them because of their evil behavior. Say to them, this is God's message. If you refuse to listen to me and live by my teaching that I reveal so plainly to you, and if you continue to refuse to listen to my servants, the prophets, that I tirelessly keep on sending to you, but you never listen, why would you start now? Then I'll make this temple a pile of ruins like Shiloh, and I'll make this city nothing but a bad joke worldwide. Everybody there, priests, prophets, and people, heard Jeremiah preaching this message in the temple of God. When Jeremiah had finished his sermon, saying everything God had commanded him to say, the priests and the prophets and the people all grabbed him, yelling, "Death! You're going to die for this. How dare you preach in using God's name, saying that this temple will become a heap of rubble like Shiloh and this city wiped out without a soul left in it." All the people mobbed Jeremiah right in the temple itself. Well, you had a pretty strong message you brought, so that's what you get. Officials from the royal court of Judah were told this. They left the palace immediately and came to God's temple to investigate. They held court on the spot at the new gate entrance to God's temple. The prophets and priests spoke first, addressing the officials, but also the people. "Death to this man. He deserved nothing less than death. He has preached against this city. You've heard the evidence with your own ears." Jeremiah spoke next publicly, addressing the officials before the crowd. "God sent me to preach against both this temple and city, everything that's been reported to you. So do something about it. Change the way you're living. Change your behavior. Listen obediently to the message of your God. Maybe God will reconsider the disaster he's threatened. As for me, I'm at your mercy. Do whatever you think is best. But take warning. If you kill me, you're killing an innocent man, and you and the city and the people in it will be liable. I didn't say any of this on my own. God sent me and told me what to say. You've been listening to God speak, not Jeremiah." The court officials, backed by the people, and handed down their ruling to the priests and prophets. Acquittal. No death sentence for this man. He has spoken to us with the authority of God. Jeremiah scared him. Then some of the respected leaders stood up and addressed the crowd. In the reign of Hezekiah, king of Judah, Micah the Moresheth preached to the people of Judah this sermon. "This is the God of angel armies' message for you. Because of people like you, Zion will be turned back into farmland. Jerusalem end up as a pile of rubble, and instead of the temple on the mountain, a few scraggly scrub pines." Did King Hezekiah or anyone else in Judah kill Micah of Moresheth because of that sermon? Didn't Hezekiah honor him and pray for mercy from God? And then didn't God call off the disaster he had threatened? Friends, we're at the brink of bringing a terrible calamity upon this people. At another time, there had been a man, Uriah, son of Shemaiah, from Kiriath Jearim, who had preached similarly in the name of God. He preached against this same city and country, just as Jeremiah did. When King Jehoiakim and his royal court heard his sermon, they determined to kill him. Uriah, afraid for his life, went into hiding in Egypt. King Jehoiakim sent Elnathan, son of Akbar, with a posse of men after him. They brought him back from Egypt and presented him to the king, and the king had him killed. They dumped his body unceremoniously outside the city. But in Jeremiah's case, Ahikam, son of Shaphan, stepped forward and took his side, preventing the mob from lynching him. Jeremiah 27, harness yourselves up to the yoke. Early in the reign of Hezekiah, son of Josiah, king of message from God. Make a harness and a yoke, and then harness yourself up. Send a message to the kings of Edom, Tyre, and Sidon. Send it through their ambassadors who have come to Jerusalem. See Zedekiah, king of Judah. Give them this charge and take back to their masters. This is a message from your masters. I'm the one who made the earth, man and woman, and all the animals in the world. I did it on my own without asking anyone's help, and I hand it to whomever I will. Here and now, I will give all these lands over to my servant Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon. I have made even the wild animals subject to him. All nations will be under him, then his son and then his grandson. Then his country's time will be up and the tables will be turned. Babylon will be the underdog servant. But until then, any nation or kingdom that won't submit to Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, must take the yoke of the king of Babylon and harness up. I'll punish that nation with war and starvation and disease until I've got them where I want them. So don't for a minute list all your prophets and spiritualists and fortune tellers who claim to know the future, who tell you not to give in to the king of Babylon. They're handing you a line of lies, barefaced lies that will end up putting you in exile far from home. I myself will drive you out of your lands. That'll be the end of you. But the nation that accepts the yoke of the king of Babylon and does what he says, I'll let that nation stay right there where it is, minding its own business. Then I gave the same message to Zedekiah, king of Judah. Harness yourself up to the yoke of the king of Babylon. Serve him and his people, live a long life. Why choose to get killed and starve to death or sick and die, which is what God has threatened any nation that won't throw its lot in with Babylon. Don't listen to the prophets who are telling you not to submit to the king of Babylon. They're telling you lies, preaching lies. God's word on this is, I didn't send those prophets, but they keep preaching lies, claim I sent them. If you listen to them, I'll end up driving you out here, and that will be the end of you, both you and the lying prophets. And finally, I spoke to the priests and the people at large. This is God's message. Don't listen to the preaching of the prophets who keep telling you, trust us. The furnishings plundered from God's temple are going to be returned from Babylon any day now. I wonder, does that include the Ark of the Covenant? Well, he says that's a lie. Don't listen to them. Submit to the king of Babylon and live a long life. Why do something that will destroy this city and leave it a heap of rubble? If they're real prophets and have a message from God, let them come to the God of angel armies in prayer so that the furnishings that are still left in God's temple, the king's palace in Jerusalem, aren't also lost to Babylon. That's because the God of the angel armies has already spoken about the temple furnishings that remain. The pillars, the great bronze basin, the stands, and all the other bowls and chalices that Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, didn't take when he took Jehoiakim, son of Jehoiakim, off to Babylonian exile, along with all the leaders of Judah and Jerusalem. He said that the furnishings left behind in the temple of God and in the royal palace in Jerusalem will be taken off to Babylon and stay there until, in God's words, I take the matter up again and bring them back where they belong. And that could be dealing with the Ark of the Covenant. Well,